Welcome to today's Explainer, everyone. Go ahead and settle in, because today we're exploring a truly fascinating chapter in internet history. For this lecture, we're rewinding the clock back to 2005. Now, the World Wide Web was about 15 years old at this point, but it was really reeling from years of growing pains, failing startups, and of course, that devastating economic crash we know as the dot-com bubble. But out of those ashes emerged what we can really call the internet's Reconstruction era. It was this pivotal moment when the digital realm completely changed its utility. It transformed from this quirky experiment for investors into a fresh, highly viable, and deeply embedded daily routine for everyday people.
Here's a quick look at our syllabus for today. To really understand the modern web, we have to track the cause and effect relationship between new infrastructure and massive cultural shifts. So we'll start with the Web 2.0 reconstruction, look at the leap from static to dynamic, examine the broadband paradigm shift, analyze why YouTube finally succeeded, and wrap up with portability and peer-to-peer.
All right, Section 1, the Web 2.0 reconstruction.
Okay, let's dive into this. Back in the 1990s, the internet was basically seen as a novelty, right? It was a gimmicky way to show off a digital presence, which led investors to just wildly pour money into startups that ended up being completely worthless. But after that dot-com bubble burst, the industry had a massive wake-up call, leading us directly to this staggering number, 1 billion. That is the sheer scale the internet achieved by 2005. Global online users officially crossed the 1 billion mark. This wasn't just a niche hobby anymore. The world's connection to the digital realm was strengthening astronomically, and the audience was officially there, and they were hungry for more.
To actually satisfy that audience, the internet had to evolve into what we now call Web 2.0. The crash forced a major shift in priorities. Developers woke up and realized they couldn't just build a stationary digital billboard. They had to build something that actively kept people coming back. Web 2.0 was defined by lively user experiences, a deeply participatory culture, and the robust technological frameworks required to support it all.
Moving on to Section 2, from static to dynamic.
We were officially leaving the primitive 1990s behind. Under Web 1.0, websites were completely static. Once a page loaded, it just sat there. The elements were pre-programmed, showing really basic colors, shapes, and text. But by 2005, stronger computers introduced us to JavaScript and Flash multimedia. Suddenly, the web became incredibly dynamic. We had slick, fluid animations and deeply interactive pages that, for the very first time, actually felt alive.
And at the absolute heart of this interactivity was a massive leap forward called Ajax. Ajax was essentially an improved version of JavaScript, and its superpower was allowing little bits and pieces of a web page to update asynchronously, meaning they could update without forcing the entire page to reload from scratch. This made real-time viewing tangible and just so much more engaging.
And this brilliantly illustrates how those back-end changes affected everyday life instantly. Because of Ajax, you could suddenly have instant messaging embedded directly into a web page instead of needing to open a separate program. Or, you could click to remove an item from a digital shopping cart and it would just vanish without making your whole screen blink and refresh. These sound like small conveniences now, but at the time, they completely redefined the user experience.
Let's look at Section 3, the broadband paradigm shift.
Now, none of this Web 2.0 magic was possible without a crucial upgrade to the underlying hardware infrastructure. The 90s standard was dial-up. It relied on basic copper phone lines with agonizingly narrow bandwidth. It was excruciatingly slow. If you tried to load a complex Flash website on dial-up, you'd literally be waiting all day. But broadband changed the game. But connecting through coaxial cables, the same exact lines used for your cable TV, broadband handled massive bandwidth. It made those heavy, dynamic websites incredibly fast and easy to load.
What's truly staggering here is the sheer speed of adoption. By the start of 2006, the number of broadband households in America had surged by a massive 40%. Broadband had technically existed before this, but it was niche and super expensive. 2005 was the year it saw an absolute explosion in mainstream popularity.
This sudden abundance of bandwidth completely unlocked what the internet could be. Because designers finally had speed to play with, websites became highly three-dimensional, giving birth to that iconic, glassy 2000s era visual aesthetic. It also allowed console gaming to truly thrive. The original Xbox really struggled with dial-up lag, but with broadband, Xbox Live on the 360 offered smooth, immersive, lag-free multiplayer gaming. And overall, it meant the internet actually grew faster in 2005 than it did at the absolute peak of the dot-com bubble.
This brings us to Section 4, why YouTube finally succeeded.
So the crucial point is that this era gave us the ultimate proof of concept for broadband, the explosive commercial viability of video sharing. Pre-2005 video sites were heavily paywalled, painfully slow, and highly restricted. Dial-up constraints completely doomed them. But broadband created a super narrow window where hosting free video became possible, and YouTube perfectly exploited it. They arrived first with a platform that was completely free, used fast streaming, supported virtually all video formats, and had a remarkably simple, clean interface.
But YouTube didn't just win on tech, right? They won on brilliant marketing. They didn't pitch themselves as a mere video repository. They pitched a personality-driven social network. YouTube fostered a whole new way for the world to connect, entirely dismantling the barrier to entry for filmmakers. Anyone with a camera could broadcast themselves to the globe. It proved the internet was an activity with a personality, which sparked the modern social media boom fueled by massive venture capital success.
Broadband also allowed these early social platforms to rapidly diverge into distinct digital cultures. MySpace utilized code and Flash to allow wild customization. Think sparkly buttons, auto-playing music, vibrant colors. It was open to the public but incredibly prone to messy code. In stark contrast, the Facebook leaned heavily into minimalism and uniformity. It was strictly invite-only for college students at the time, placing a massive premium on real-life authenticity, using features like tagged photos to connect a real name to a real face.
And finally, Section 5, portability and peer-to-peer.
This drive for connection naturally extended beyond just sitting at a stationary desktop computer. The internet was transitioning from a place you visited to a mindset you carried with you. This new bandwidth birthed an entirely new pipeline for offline media. Step 1. Because of massive broadband speeds and peer-to-peer protocols, users could finally download large movie and TV files using programs like BitTorrent or LimeWire. Step 2. You would sync that media to Apple's brand new 2005 iPod Video. And Step 3. You consume that media entirely offline, taking the internet with you anywhere in the world.
At the exact same time, this bandwidth was transforming live communication. While text-based instant messaging was still wildly popular, Skype utilized this high-speed era to bring face-to-face video chat to the masses. Looking someone in the eye from across the globe was a profound novelty. It pushed communication away from anonymous text into authentic interaction, really cementing 2005 as an era where people genuinely valued being the real versions of themselves online.
And as our source brilliantly states, all this amazing creativity would help develop the smartphone experience that we take for granted today by appearing in the form of apps. Because desktop computers were stationary, those big screens acted as massive, vibrant canvases for Flash websites. 2005 was really the absolute peak of desktop-bound digital creativity, setting the stage right before the iPhone completely changed the canvas.
Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought. If the expansive, highly customized web of 2005 birthed modern apps, what digital creativity was lost when we migrated to the minimalist, mobile-first screens of today? We gained immense convenience, for sure, but perhaps we traded away some of that wild creativity that defined 2005. Thank you so much for joining today's explainer on the Web 2.0 reconstruction. I hope it leaves you pondering the fascinating trade-offs of our modern mobile era.